I am so excited to be interviewing someone who's very special to me. This is Barbara Gillen. She is one of the most incredible women I know. She's had a very successful career so far with many more years to go. She's got a beautiful family, a marriage that's been happening for 38 years. And she has a thriving, energetic, packed life. And she's my aunt. So I have known her my entire life. And actually, I was thinking right before this interview, you got married the year I was born. So
that is very true, Sash.
I've really been with you for the whole journey.
Yeah, we certainly have. I remember it well.
So I felt inspired to include you in this relationship series I've been doing because I feel like you and I have been having these conversations for many years. And when I think back to when we first started having these conversations, I didn't really understand what you were talking about. Like, I couldn't relate to where you were coming from because it was so far from my reality and what I had experienced in my life. And as I've grown up and matured and figured out what seems to work really well for a happy, thriving relationship, I come back to these conversations that you and I have had. And this relationship series and the articles I've been writing and the conclusions, or not conclusions, but discoveries I've come to, all relate back to you in a way, and to things that I've observed about you and your relationship with Uncle Noel, that I think make your relationship work really well 38 years in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had quite a big age difference as well.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting too.
Yeah. So I would love to start with, if you could just tell us a little bit about your relationship, where it is right now and where it started, and just sort of I know that's like a loaded question and we'll go more into the details, but just, tell us about your marriage.
Well, to tell you the truth, it started, I was 19 years old, didn't really, to tell you the truth, have a clue what the hell I was doing. Fell in love with this guy. Of course, he sort of swept me off my feet. I had just moved to a new country. I'm originally from Trinidad, as obviously you know, and that's where your mommy is from, my sister. And just moved to Canada, met Noel, an Irishman. Funnily enough, we met in Calgary. Swept off my feet. We got literally, he asked me to marry him. He was 16 years older than me. Asked me to marry him sort of about 6 months after we met. It was all very quick. And I have to tell you, 38 years later, it is better than I ever imagined that it would be. But that certainly took a heck of a lot of work. And a lot of work. I can't speak for Noel, but I really feel a lot of work on my part. And obviously I think being 16 years older, he obviously was somebody that was very confident. I think that played a big part in it. So he didn't try to change who I was. He didn't put up with a lot of my sort of tantrums and things that, when I was 19, I didn't have a clue, right? I thought that marriage was all about sort of tiptoeing through the tulips and, angels floating around and romance and, and it might have been like that for a bit. And then, of course, reality sets in and we had two children, and you're both working hard, and so that's the years that I think it really takes, a lot of work. And it often takes, I think, one person to just be the bigger person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I often saw as a woman, because men are not great communicators.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized very quickly, look, if I want my relationship to work, which I wanted it to because I loved my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a good, decent man, and I felt that I had to show him, you know, what what either I needed or what our relationship needed.
Mm-hmm.
I a person, because if you have two people, which two individuals, let's face it, it's not easy in any relationship. Two completely different people. You both, the ego comes into play. I always think about you when I talk about an ego, because
Mm-hmm.
I know you talk about that a lot. Egos come into play. Nobody wants to be the one that's wrong. You both want to be right. And if you both continue through a relationship like that, well, you're banging heads
Mm-hmm.
constantly. So I really do feel that one person, sometimes when you're at an impasse, one person has to say, look, enough of this crap. Like, let's move on,
Yeah.
and let's just, talk and get through it.
Yeah.
Um, and then, later on in a relationship, I think when it when it really sort of I know when the aha moment came for me, I think, was the first crisis that we sort of had in our relationship, which was my brother dying suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. And that was when I realized how important your partner was, just because they were there and they were watching your back.
Yeah.
And when my brother died suddenly, Noel, I didn't even have to ask Noel. My children were young at the time. I was quite young. I was 35. And just had to be with my family, my sisters and my parents. And I had to grieve. And he was just there. And he just stepped in with the children, and he just took over. And I didn't even have to ask. He was just there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after that I went, oh my God, this is what a truly relationship is about. It's about two people wanting the best for each other, um, going where sometimes, it has to be 100% one person. It's never 50-50. This whole thing when I hear 50-50 always makes me laugh, because it's never 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Because, sometimes it's 100% on one side.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be like that for a while. And
Mm-hmm.
then it shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it's being open to seeing all of that. It's Sasha, you talk about this all the time, the openness, the open heart.
Mm-hmm.
Having an open heart to receive messages
Yeah.
when you need to receive them, right? And I'm learning all of this too as I go along. And I'm always grateful and thankful that I saw those little things. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so again, whether it was my brother dying, it was my father having dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was huge. Again, our children were fairly young. It was just knowing that I could do all of that stuff and not even have to think twice
Yeah.
about my relationship, or have to question that he was struggling because I wasn't around.
Mm-hmm.
He knew where I had to be,
Mm-hmm.
and he just allowed me to be there.
Yeah.
And that's when I think I realized, oh my God, that's what it's not about, sex and tiptoeing through the tulips. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sex plays a big part of your marriage, there's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But a bigger part is when you truly sort of understand each other
Yeah.
and who you are, and accept each other. right? That's a big one too. But boy, it's a lot, and we still struggle with it, Sasha. It is hysterical. The only thing that we fight about, and I'm sure I've spoken to you about this before, is we don't get each other.
That is adorable.
Yes, later we still. I'll say to him, "Don't you know what I mean when I say this?" And he goes,
No.
"No." And I'm like, "Oh my God, we're never gonna get it."
No. Never.
So you know what?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's so stupid. That's the only thing. It's about communication.
Yeah.
Because who he is as a person and who I am, you know, we still sort of struggle with that whole dynamic. And even though we absolutely adore, each other and who we are, it still drives us crazy, right? So it's being able to just sort of then sit back and go, okay, like make that a joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't get lost in all of that and argue about it and fight about it. That's actually another thing that I felt got me through a lot of stuff was humor.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, things were escalating or whatever, trying to sort of diffuse things by a little bit of humor. And it's exactly what you talk about or write about is when you just flip the perspective. It's like, just flip it.
Yeah.
Look at it a little differently. And it's amazing that what that does. And I mean, I use that in everything in my life, at work and everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could just say goodbye right now because you pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you brought up so many amazing points that I want to circle back to. So something that has always really stood out to me about you two is your independence. This strong sense of independence. And I think what I've come to learn through my own experiences in relationships and then also observing other relationships and then working with clients, what tends to be the downfall is codependence.
Yeah.
And exactly what you were just saying. So this came up, you talked about confidence. You talked about accepting who the other person is and them accepting you. You talked about that trust, so you don't have to worry about what the other person is doing. And then you talked about, you're each, even though you've been together this long, you're still different people. You still are who you are, and you're not trying to make the other person be any other way.
No.
And
there are times, Sasha, that I would kind of love if Noel was a little different. Like all women, right? We sort of sit there with God, couldn't he just, but if you're in a relationship and you love a person and you want to be there, you're just really banging your head against a wall if you keep trying to think that they are ever going to be anything but what they are.
Yeah.
And, it was, I think I told you before we started, it was like tonight. I mean, so we're in set in our ways, right? Saturdays now, I spend time with my mom. Sundays, we have grandkids. Well, I am obsessed, of course, with my grandchildren. Noel, being a man, is obsessed with football. And of course, he adores his grandchildren, but he doesn't need to spend, 5 hours on a Sunday with them. So, I would love nothing better than for him to come and spend, the 5 hours with me, with them, because to me that would be so pleasurable. But he's not that. He's just not interested. And I put it out there, and I always message him and say, okay, going off to see the grandkids, come and join us if you'd like. And sometimes he does, for half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he doesn't.
Spoke about at the beginning of the series was taking responsibility for your own joy.
Exactly.
And so you know what you like and how you like to spend your time, and so does
Yeah.
he.
Yeah.
And by, you know, of course, there's a part of you that would love for him to be there with you. But
Yeah.
if you let that be your focus, then you're robbing yourself of the opportunity to enjoy something that brings you pleasure.
Exactly, Sasha. And it's
Yeah.
funny because even at the beginning of our relationship, I remember, even though as young as I was,
Mm-hmm.
I always felt, and again, this was Noel as well, accepting who I was. So, I mean, I enjoyed, going off here. I belonged to a choir. I love carnival. I love caravana. Yeah, so, it was just, he knew that I loved those sort of things, and that was never an issue. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I think it was because you build that respect as well. So it's like any relationship, whether you're talking about your work relationship
Mm-hmm.
or your personal relationship, you have to build that trust and
Yeah.
that respect. Um, and so, yeah, once that's there, it's just a given, really.
I love what you said too about, sometimes you have to be the bigger person. And that's why when I did this series, I said, I'm just going to talk to women. This could apply to men as well. But you can actually do all these things and experience a drastic shift in your relationship, even if your partner doesn't do anything differently.
Yeah,
And I think it's
yeah,
so important to realize that, because another, roadblock that you can come up against either partner is that, oh, well, I'm doing so much and to, make the relationship better, and they're not doing anything. But then it's like, well, what's the intention there? Is it
yeah.
because you actually want to be happier, or because you want something from them?
Exactly. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's it right there. And that's where I have to say maybe I was lucky that even though I was a very young person, I
Mm-hmm.
always did have a level of confidence in myself as well. And
Yeah.
I think that's huge. I think, I know we've heard this so many times before, you cannot love anybody else unless you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is so true. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it might be used over and over again, but obviously for a reason, because
Yeah.
it is true. I
Yeah.
feel, once you love yourself and you
Mm-hmm.
know who you are and you feel comfortable, and that's where getting older um, is great because get to know yourself more,
Yeah.
you get to feel more confident, you know what you want. And that's where, if you can, hang in there in relationships, often it does get so much better
Yeah.
because I think you are understanding of each other more.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's just not struggling, like you're
Yeah.
saying, right? Just don't struggle with stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you try and it's not working at the moment, well, step
Yeah.
away and
Yeah.
maybe try again because the person may not be receptive at that time.
Yeah.
Like I always make people laugh because I say, you know what, I can like do cartwheels while I'm naked
Mm-hmm.
in front of the television when football is going on, and he will be like dodging and going, standing.
Yeah. Can you do that somewhere else?
Exactly. So I know, like, don't even talk to him,
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then you develop things or you find out things that you both do have in common. I mean,
Yeah.
and those are the things that you tend to enjoy,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but I think you just have to be open and being receptive. And
Yeah.
I think if you are the bigger person, a lot of the time,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the other person takes, eventually it sinks in with them too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think they sort of get it.
Mm-hmm. It's been 38 years, and That's phenomenal. I'm sure most people watching this can't comprehend that you've been married for 38 years because you don't look much older than that. Um,
Thanks, Ash.
so, something that I see, and this was also a big inspiration for doing this relationship series, is that we live in a really strange time for relationships where there's still this desire to have a lifelong partnership and to create a family, yet there's also a tendency towards instant gratification and a lack of willingness to ride the different waves that are going to come if you're with anybody for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And so there, hence the divorce rate, hence, people not getting married until much, much later and having multiple long-term relationships, or just, choosing not to get married at all, which is fine.
Yeah.
But what I'm starting to see is when you're willing to stay and you're willing to ride those waves, you not only does your relationship experience growth, but you as a person get to experience a different kind of growth that you wouldn't get to experience if you were on your own. What has been the advantage, do you think, to you and to your relationship of staying together over all this time, rather than, at some point just being like, I think there's something better out there for me?
Oh gosh, wow, that's a tough one. Yeah, I just think that to me, really there is nothing more satisfying for me. But again, I have to stress to me
Mm-hmm.
to have um, the love and commitment of a good man or a good person, whether it be a man or a woman, um, to have children that we have nurtured together, that we have modeled the way for, that have gotten into their own relationships, and to see them be happy, and hope that you have had a little bit to do with that. And just, to me, really, I feel I have been successful in my working life as well, having a partner that, again, or having a relationship where you just feel secure.
Yeah.
And really, probably it's no different than growing up and having those secure feelings where you feel you can step out on a limb, and again know that there will be somebody there to catch you if you fall. It's so funny with Noah and I, because what I've seen is, again, with the age difference, I've seen the real journey of what our journey has been. Because of course it's not going to be the same for everyone. But where we've been through the real roller coaster times, like you were saying, the ups and downs and crap. I mean, we went through times, at least for me anyway, I can't speak for Noah, where I actually really didn't love him. I could have said to myself right there, God, like, why am I here? I don't even really like this person. But, life goes on and you hang in there and start trying to see the good things. I know you just wrote about that. You start trying to say, but wait a minute, okay, this person's amazing features are, this is what they're so fabulous at, this person loves me, I need to just give it a shot. And before you know it, because of life and because of, however each of you is feeling, things start turning around, and you appreciate each other more. And I really felt that he then retired quite suddenly in life. And that was when, funnily enough, my career started sort of ramping up a bit, because then my children were older. I was able to focus a bit more on work. I started working for an amazing company that I loved, and I truly started to sort of shine
Mm-hmm.
at the time. And Noel again stepped in by being the rock at home.
Mm-hmm.
But all our days where I was the caregiver at home with children, he didn't have a lot of input
Mm-hmm.
at that time, because he worked fairly long hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the true, really, caregiver
Mm-hmm.
for the children. But then the roles were completely reversing, and I would never have said that I would have ever seen my husband vacuuming, doing his own laundry. Now he does not cook, and that's the only thing that I really would love, that if we could put that together. But I'm still not going to give up on that. That's something we can try. But the roles have like almost completely reversed, and there's an example of we're just making each other better.
Yeah.
He is, and now again, it was tough, because he was struggling with the fact that he was no longer working outside the home, and bringing in, you know, I'm now the breadwinner, really. I mean, he is on pension, and
Mm-hmm.
he struggled with that, and I think I think that was a hit on his confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually noticed that I've had to really step up my game with regards to making him feel
Mm-hmm.
more confident, and that he is playing a very important role in our life right now, enabling me to be the best that I can be, and to earn as much as I can earn for us
Yeah.
down the road, right? That was a classic example of us sort of the balancing,
Yeah.
right? And it really, so that's another example of
Mm-hmm.
allowing each other to be the best that you can be, and saying, okay, well, this is the role that I need to play in my relationship now.
Yeah. This idea, so earlier I talked about really admiring the independence that you each have as individuals. And so we kind of think about there's dependence and then there's independence. And if we can master independence, then we're good. But there's actually a third level, which is interdependence. And that's basically when two or more independent people come together, and then you can create something even better.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so, you know, what I see in your partnership and the way that you two just sort of naturally can sort of hand things off, that's such a great example of interdependence. And the reason that it works so well for you two is that you are such confident and whole, independent people.
yeah,
So it's not, so then in order for you to support him in some way, that's not going to be a hit on your confidence or self-image, and same for him,
yeah,
so he can let you have this time to really shine and thrive
yeah.
and be happy for you.
Exactly, exactly. That's a huge one,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, now again, I just can't even put a price on, how a person can assist you and
Yeah.
be there for you. It's like with my mother, who right now is 90 and living on her own, and knowing that Noel is at home and close by if she needs anything. I mean, last week he was probably up there 2 or 3 times,
Wow.
doing stuff. And just knowing that is, again, I can't even,
Yeah.
it's a level of comfort that you can just go off and know that everything's going to be okay. Hence, I think, Sasha, when you are in a happy, committed relationship, then of course everything and everyone around you is happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are feeling fulfilled, and yeah, you just want to spread that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's an amazing relationship psychologist that I follow. Her name is Esther Perel, and she's been married for over 20 years. And she said that what's interesting about that is it's as though she's been with the same person, but it's as though she's had at least 3 different marriages
Yeah,
because of how they have changed as individuals and their life has changed. So you get to go through these different phases together. So I think, we might look at forever as like, oh my God, really? But we're always changing. Life is always changing, and so
yeah.
your relationship is also going to change.
I feel that you can have it all, but just not all at once.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I've had it. I feel what's made me happy, but like I got into my best part of my career when I was 50.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm 50 and I'm young and I'm loving it, and I struggle and I'm struggling with the whole thing, but it's all new and it's exciting, and I'm trying to do my best. And so, I'm now doing it at 50, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do it at 30, because I had children and whatever. And again, I have to stress that worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, there are people out there, men and women, that have high energy and they can do it all, and
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that you can, but you need to be good to yourself at each level or each time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
And
because I
and
think then you will then grow and you will
mm-hmm.
thrive and you'll get better.
Yeah.
Um,
And really,
hopefully.
really honoring what life is presenting you in the moment. What advice would you give to someone who's in the early phases of a long-term relationship, whether it's marriage or maybe they've just moved in with somebody and they really want to see this relationship thrive? What would be words of wisdom?
Oh, geez, you're asking the hardest questions.
Well,
I
I
don't
know,
know.
your daughter, my beautiful cousin, recently got
Yeah,
married. I don't know if you guys had those kind of conversations, but
yeah, sure.
she got to witness you and your marriage. But, you know, if she didn't know you and she was getting married, what would you offer her?
It's just being good to each other, just being, good, decent people to each other, and being respectful. I think at the start, you really do have to be respectful and have values. And it's always good to have similar values and morals and beliefs, and but a lot of it really is just being good
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
and and slowly building up that respect. And whether, again, because I think when you get into a new relationship, it's all about, excitement and love, and the sex is great and everything is fantastic, and um but still also letting the person know, the communication is really important, I think, at that point, to
Mm-hmm.
say, this is who I am, this is what I like, this is what makes me happy, this is what I enjoy, and talking about those things. But a big part, what I learned, for me, what really works for me is just approaching everything with an open heart, to receiving messages, because I feel so often we have built up walls
Mm-hmm.
where maybe we don't want to be hurt,
Yeah.
whatever. But you know what? life is about joy and sadness and being hurt, and you can never not be hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
but you
you'll
got to open
survive.
up. You'll survive.
Yeah.
It's so true,
Yeah.
and we've all, anybody you talk to, we all have our stuff
Mm-hmm.
and things that you go through. But if you're open to receiving and joy
Yeah.
and receiving happiness and just opening yourself up to stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it really makes a difference. You know what? And now that I'm thinking, as I'm talking through these things, I'm thinking back.
Yeah.
You know what really I think sort of set my path that I think about it now? Um, my brother, Stephen, who you
Mm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
was gay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and he is about 12 years older than me. Um, I remember um, as a young child, when I found out that he was gay,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, he must be struggling. And I remember thinking that as a young child, which is kind of odd that I was thinking about that, but maybe I saw stuff
Yeah.
without even realizing. Maybe I saw people bullying him or something. I don't know. But I always remember thinking, you know what? If he can be such an amazing person, because he is and was then, and such a light and so positive and so free and so honest, and so if he can be like that and have all these struggles that I didn't have, then my God, please, I'm gonna have all the confidence in the world. And I think just talking to you, that came back to me. I
Wow.
think that influenced me, and without me maybe even realizing it, right? So it's funny if we sort of think back of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always felt quite confident in myself that I would be okay because I saw him and
Mm-hmm.
he was fine. And
Mm-hmm.
yet he had, in the era that he would have grown up in, Sasha, it was not the open, even life today, people are still struggling, right? As being different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think he had a huge influence on me. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I'm so excited for him to hear you say that.
Yes, yes. I know I've thought about it before,
Yeah.
but these things sort of come in and out. And
Yeah.
as we were talking, I remembered that.
Yeah.
And I think that has always often sat with me.
Yeah.
I've had my siblings have
Yeah.
been role models to me.
Yeah.
My sister struggled in her, divorced a few times, single
Mm-hmm.
mother, but did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of was on the outside looking in and thinking, crap,
Yeah.
if they can do it
Yeah.
and struggle that way, God, I mean, what do I have to complain
Mm-hmm.
about or worry about?
Mm-hmm.
So I think those sort of things do influence you without you realizing it. You
That's
know,
beautiful.
yeah,
Well, that's a great place to end because I think it's important that if we want to experience success in anything in life, seeking support, mentorship, in whatever way we can is so important.
yeah,
And, I know years ago, I was divorced and I knew that I wanted to experience a positive, healthy relationship. And so I made a point of really observing people in my life who I felt were experiencing that. And you were, of course, one of those people. I had friends who are in great relationships, and I would literally interview them. Why is this working? What
yeah,
is different about it? Um, because, we can create our own influences. So, whoever's listening to this, if you feel like you haven't experienced good relationships, if you haven't had it for yourself, if you didn't have it in your family, then seek it out around
Yeah.
you, because
Yeah,
it's all around you. And ask people, what is it that makes this work, and adopt those things. You know, we're never stuck where we are. We're always changing and growing, and if you can really take responsibility for your own health and well-being,
yeah.
everything thrives as a result.
I would agree with that one. You hit the nail on the head.
And
And was there, by the way, was there anything, as you said, you sort of interviewed people or asked about relationships, was there any sort of common thread that you can see? Oh,
I would say the common thread, and then what I'm experiencing now in my relationship, and based on what you've shared today as well, was the idea of each partner really valuing the other person.
yeah,
You know, like really understanding this is an individual human who has chosen to be with me,
yeah.
and I want to honor and respect them and do what I can to make their life better.
Right,
And
exactly.
if both people are taking that approach, you can't
Yeah,
really go wrong. And you know,
exactly.
it's not going to be great and perfect every day, because everyone's going to have their moments. But if
Yeah,
that's sort of the overarching energy,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and so for me, you know, it helped me see that I was not choosing partners who were really capable of being that,
that's right.
you know.
Capable of valuing you.
Yeah, like I
Brought to the table.
was stuck in the fixing role, or
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and so and I do believe in relationships we're sort of always fixing each other, but
yeah,
if you can start
definitely.
from a base of really valuing and respecting and honoring the other person, then there's really no limit to what you can experience together.
I agree. I agree. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie.
You're welcome,
It's been such
Seth.
a pleasure.